We're going at 8, I said. Professor Caldwell's meeting us at the engineering building. And what weapons are we going to use? Riker asked. Athletic center first, I said. The app says there's equipment. Meaning baseball bats and hockey sticks probably. Probably. Great. Just great. We're fighting actual zombies with sports equipment. What a joke. Humanity truly peaked as a species, didn't we? We finished our makeshift armor. Extra layers. Improvised armor. Not the best idea, but it's all we have, so it just have to make do. Anything thick enough to maybe stop teeth is strapped to us. Caspian checked camera batteries, like documenting the apocalypse required proper charge management. Which, to be fair, probably did, but honestly feels so pointless in the moment. I watched the countdown timer tick lower minute by minute and wondered how many of those 63 survivors would still be alive by morning. Then the app updated again. Mission available. Establish contact with Professor Caldwell. Estimated reward. Plus 100 survival value. Recommended approach. Stealth and speed. Scout appeared on screen. The little zombie mascot looked serious now. Concerned. Like the little dude actually cared whether we lived or died. Which was ridiculous. It was just an algorithm. A very creepy algorithm, but still. This is dangerous. The text bubble read. Be careful. I don't want to lose you. I almost laughed. This cartoon zombie was showing more concern for my well-being than most people I knew, which probably said something deeply depressing about modern society. We'll be careful, I muttered to my phone like a complete idiot. Scout gave me a thumbs up. I gave one back. Then I turned toward Riker and Caspian and finally said the thing I'd been avoiding. If this goes wrong, if we get separated, the fallback point is here. This room. I pointed at the barricaded door. If you can make it back here. I hesitated. If you can't, save yourselves. Don't die trying to save me. Absolutely not, Riker snapped immediately. We stay together. Period. We're not splitting up like morons in a horror movie. I'm serious. So am I. We survive as a team. That's how this works. Caspian nodded silently. Camera pointed at us, still recording everything. Making sure that if we died, somebody would know we tried. That we fought. That we stayed together. I swallowed hard. Okay, fine, I said quietly. Together. We spent the next 3 hours preparing. Taping textbooks to our chests as makeshift armor. Wrapping layers around our arms. Anything that might slow a bite down. Probably wouldn't work, but doing nothing felt worse. Then, at exactly 7:45 p.m., the lights flickered one last time and then died completely. Emergency lighting kicked in. Dim red bulbs that made everything look like we were trapped inside a horror movie. The building groaned around us. Settling, or dying. Can't really tell anymore. Time to move, I said. We dismantled the barricade slowly and quietly, pausing every few seconds to listen at the door. No scratching, no breathing, just silence. On 3, Riker whispered. He gripped his baseball bat tight. I held mine and Caspian carried the hunting knife from my emergency kit. Not much, but better than facing the apocalypse with positive thinking and student debt. 1, I said. 2, Riker continued. 3, Caspian finished. I pulled the door open. The hallway stretched ahead in darkness, broken only by red emergency lights casting long shadows across walls covered in semester decorations. A faded homecoming banner. Club flyers nobody ever attended. A whiteboard advertising events that would never happen now. And at the far end of the hall, Axel Jang stood waiting, swaying slightly like a broken metronome. Biology grad student, 24 years old. He'd helped me move in freshman year, written me up sophomore year for having an illegal microwave in my room. A normal guy with normal problems and normal dreams until about 6 hours ago when something went catastrophically wrong with his biology. His eyes were ruined, clouded over, milky white, pupils blown wide and empty. His mouth hung open, and that wet rattling sound leaked from his throat. Not breathing exactly, but more like his lungs had forgotten how. Then he turned his head toward us. Slowly, too slowly, and for half a second, I thought he recognized us. Thought maybe some part of Axel was still trapped inside there somewhere. But then he charged. Move, move, move. Riker shoved me sideways. We sprinted for the stairwell. Axel came after us. Not running exactly, but moving way too fast. Joints bending wrong, making sounds no human being should ever make. We hit the stairwell door and yanked. Locked. Of course it was locked. Even during the apocalypse, building management remained committed to inconvenience like always. And suddenly we were trapped in a hallway with an infected zombie charging at us and nowhere left to go. Then Caspian did something I'll never forget. He turned around and faced Axel, raised his camera, and took a picture. The flash exploded in the darkness like a miniature sun. Axel shrieked, covered his eyes, and stumbled backward. "They're light sensitive," Caspian yelled. Another flash, and another. Axel retreated again. I turned back to the door, and together me and Riker slammed into the stairwell door, and somehow it actually opened. Adrenaline, maybe. The same survival instinct that lets people lift cars off trapped children and survive things logic says should kill them. To be honest, I didn't really care about the whats and the whys. I was just thankful. We piled inside. I slammed the door shut behind us. And we stood there in the darkness of the stairwell listening to Axel pound against the other side. Breathing hard. Trying to process what had just happened. "Did you know that would work?" I asked Caspian. "No," he admitted. "But it seemed worth trying." Riker barked out a nervous laugh. Caspian Gray, zombie slayer. Who would have guessed? Infected slayer, not zombie, I corrected automatically. "The app says." "I don't care what the app says," Riker snapped. "That was a zombie. We almost got eaten by a zombie, and Caspian fought it off with a camera flash." He shook his head. "This is insane." He was right. Everything about this was insane. The storm, the infected, the app guiding us through survival like some nightmare GPS system. The fact that we were about to cross campus in darkness to meet a professor who might already be dead. But insane was all we had left. So we'd work with it. There's no other option. "Athletic Center is 2 buildings over," I whispered. "We move quiet. We move fast. We don't engage unless we absolutely have to. Are we clear?" They nodded. Stay together. Stay quiet. Stay alive. Simple rules. Probably impossible ones, but it's a collective goal which will mean structure, and structure is vital in emergency situations. We started down the stairwell. The emergency lighting barely worked. Every third bulb flickered weakly, sometimes less, creating a really gloomy setting, adding to the level of insanity that has become our reality. We descended 7 floors through near-total darkness, listening to our own footsteps echo and trying very hard not to imagine what might be waiting below us. At the ground floor, I checked the app. A campus heat map glowed on screen. Green meant clear. Yellow meant uncertain. Red meant infected. The direct route to the athletic center was completely red. "We're taking the tunnels," I said. "The maintenance tunnels?" Riker asked. "You know a better route?" "I know like 3 people who even know those tunnels exist." "For now, that is. The app mapped them," I replied. The entire underground maintenance system spread across my screen in precise detail. Steam tunnels, electrical conduits, access routes, mostly yellow, some green, only one red section, avoidable if we moved quickly. We found the access door behind the boiler room, unlocked. The app had predicted that too. Emergency power barely reached down there. We relied on flashlights. The tunnels were cramped. Concrete walls and low ceilings. Pipes hissing overhead. Water dripping somewhere in the dark. Every breath echoed. "This is horror movie rule number 1, Riker muttered. "Never go into the tunnels. The tunnels are where people die." "Everywhere is where people die now," Caspian answered quietly. "At least down here we can control the environment." He had a point. The tunnels were narrow, defensible. If infected came at us, we'd see them coming. Hopefully. 20 minutes later, we emerged near the athletic center. The building stood dark and silent against the storm. My phone showed mostly green inside, only one yellow zone near the locker rooms. "We secure the equipment room first," I said. "Bats, hockey sticks, helmets, anything useful. Then engineering." "Got it," Riker finished. The athletic center door opened with my keycard. Somehow it still worked. Tiny miracle in a rapidly collapsing world. Inside was absolute darkness. Our flashlights carved thin tunnels through black air. The building smelled like sweat and floor cleaner and something else underneath. Something rotten. Something wrong. "You smell that?" Riker whispered. "Yeah," I answered. "That is deeply not good." We moved slowly toward the equipment room. My phone kept feeding me information. Threat assessment, distance to target, survival probability. Numbers pretending they could reduce terror into percentages. The equipment room door stood unlocked. Gear was scattered everywhere like they'd grabbed what they could and ran for their lives, which was probably exactly what happened. We loaded up. Aluminum bats, hockey sticks, padding, helmets. Riker picked up a lacrosse stick and tested the weight. "Too light," he muttered. "Need something with real impact." He grabbed a wooden Louisville slugger instead. Classic choice. Human civilization collapses and people still trust Louisville. Caspian chose a football helmet with a full face guard. Smart. Protection mattered more than offense. I grabbed duct tape and climbing rope and started modifying my bat, reinforcing the grip, wrapping wire around the barrel. The app actually showed me optimal impact points and weight distribution. It was teaching me how to turn sports equipment into weapons. I tried very hard not to think about what that meant for humanity. My phone buzzed. Weapon upgrade detected. Durability increased. 7 out of 10. "What the hell?" "It's rating my bat," I said. "Of course," Riker muttered sarcastically. "Because what we really need at the moment is Yelp reviews for murder weapons." "Self-defense weapons," I corrected. "Sure. Whatever helps you sleep during the apocalypse." We spent 30 minutes gearing up. Improvised armor. Reinforced padding. Weapons we'd barely learned to use. We looked like the saddest LARPing group in history. Except this wasn't roleplay. And if we died, nobody respawned. At exactly 8 p.m., my phone pinged. Mission waypoint activated. Navigate to engineering building. Professor Caldwell awaiting contact. "Time to move," I said. We exited through the athletic center's south doors. The quad stretched in front of us. Wide open. No cover. In the darkness we could see shapes moving. Lots of them. Infected wandered across the campus with that jerky, unnatural gait. Not organized. Not hunting. Just moving because movement was all they had left. We need a distraction, Caspian whispered. Like what? He pointed toward the parking lot. Car alarm. Draw them away, and then we sprint across while they're distracted, he explained. I stared at him wide-eyed. That could attract every single infected person on campus. Or, it gives us 30 seconds, he counters back. 30 seconds. Human survival reduced to half a minute and a bad idea. I looked at Riker. He shrugged. I don't have a better plan. Do you? Okay, I said. Caspian, you're fastest. Trigger the alarm. Riker and I move when they shift. Then we all regroup at engineering's south entrance. If anyone gets cut off, we don't get cut off, Riker interrupted immediately. He looked me dead in the eye. We move together. The rule. Remember, together, right? I nodded. Caspian slipped into the parking lot low and silent. Found an old Honda Civic, smashed the window with his helmet. The alarm screamed into the night. Every infected in the quad turned instantly toward the sound. Then they started moving. Fast. Way too fast. Now, move! I yell. We ran. 3 idiots in improvised armor carrying sports equipment through the apocalypse. The distance couldn't have been more than 100 yards, but it felt like miles. Every step felt like an opportunity to fall. To trip. To die. Behind us, the car alarm suddenly cut off. Caspian sprinted after us. The infected paused in confusion, turning back toward the silence. Some started moving back in our direction again. We hit the engineering building at full speed. South entrance. I pounded 3 quick knocks against the door. Immediately it opened. Flashlight beamed directly in my eyes. Then Professor Caldwell's voice. Inside. Quickly. We stumbled through. He slammed the door shut behind us. Deadbolt. Chain lock. Security bar. The man obviously knew how to fortify a position. You made it, he said, honestly sounding surprised. Good. We need to talk. His flashlight swept across us. There's more happening here than you realize. More than any of us realize. And if we're going to survive, we need to think bigger than just tonight. He led us upstairs through dark corridors toward his lab. As we climbed, I checked my phone. The survival estimate had changed. 8 hours, 34 minutes. We actually survived past the original deadline. The app hadn't lied, but it also wasn't optimistic. 8 hours didn't mean safety. It meant the app believed we had enough resources to survive the night. The real question was, what happened after that? Inside Caldwell's lab, maps covered every table. Campus layouts, regional highways, population estimates, handwritten calculations. Holy shit, Riker said, his eyes running over the spread. He'd been preparing for this long before we arrived. Before all of this even started. Please sit, he said, gesturing to the chairs packed all around the table. We sat down, our eyes glued to him in anticipation. Let's start with a question. What do you know about the outbreak? He started. Almost nothing, I admitted instantly. People get infected, they attack others, they spread it. Standard zombie rules, Riker added. No, not zombies, Caldwell corrected immediately, shaking his finger. The distinction does in fact matter. He leaned over the table, meeting us eye level. Zombies are fictional, usually dead, reanimated. He pointed toward the window. These are living people whose nervous systems have been catastrophically altered, but they're still breathing, still functioning. He paused. Just not human anymore. Silence settled across the room. Do you know what's causing it? I finally asked. Nope. Unknown. What I can tell you is, CDC went dark 3 hours ago, and the last broadcasts mentioned a possible viral pathogen. Extremely aggressive transmission. He spread one of the maps across the table. What matters the most right now is the pattern. The infection spread outward from major cities, following highways, transportation routes, population density. Urban centers first, Caldwell explained. Millions infected within hours. He tapped smaller circles farther out. Second wave spreads to satellite communities, colleges, rural towns, places connected to cities but not fully isolated. He looked directly at us. And that, my friends, will be us. How long until a third wave? I asked nervously, not too sure if I really want the answer to that. He dropped his gaze and sighed. Days, maybe a week before the entire region collapses. He spoke calmly, a little too calmly if you ask me, like he'd already accepted the math. The infection grows exponentially. 1 infected becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. He folded his arms. Without intervention, total infection becomes statistically inevitable. Riker stared at him. So what do we do? We survive the initial collapse. Secure resources. Build a functioning community. Structure. Caldwell's voice never wavered. Then we outlast it. Viruses burn out eventually. Host populations decline. Biology always reaches equilibrium. And can we survive that long? Riker asked quietly. Caldwell looked at each of us in turn. That depends entirely on yourselves. His eyes settled on me last. On whether you're willing to make the decisions survival requires. Caspian lowered his camera slightly. That's not very reassuring. It's not supposed to be reassuring, Caldwell answered. False hope gets people killed. Real hope comes from accepting reality and adapting to it. And the sooner you do, the better. Wow, that's dark, Riker said. It might be dark, but sadly, it's the only way. And he was not wrong. Accepting reality meant understanding that most of the campus was probably already dead by now. That our families back home might be gone too. That the world we'd lived in a week ago wasn't coming back. Not tomorrow. Not ever. If you enjoyed tonight's story, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and join us for the next chapter. Until then, remember, when the world falls apart, the people beside you may be the only thing holding it together. Thank you for listening and be safe out there.